This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming back after a long absence, the wonderful, the hilarious, the talented Betsy Salkind. That's the first time I have pronounced her name right. I used to pronounce it Salkind. Betsy Salkind is coming back on. We're going to have a fun chat like we always do. It's been 4 years since the last time we talked. And, I'm going to ask her about, dead comedians that we've lost recently, maybe comment on the strike that's going on, still going on, damn it. I hope this thing ends soon. I miss talking to my actors. And I want to find out, if she ever did her podcast that she was going to do the last time we talked back in December of 2019, because I was looking for it for the longest time, and I haven't seen any advertisement for it. And it's going to be a great conversation. I love talking to Betsy. She's a survivor like I am, and I just love hearing great stories from her and great anecdotes and observations and all of that stuff. And it's going to be great. This is my first show back since last Wednesday, and it's not by design. I had 2 people flake on me last week, and so I've had to wait 4 or 5 days to do another interview. And so let's get to it. Here is my new interview with Betsy Salkind.
Tommy.
Betsy, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am pretty good. Last time we talked, COVID hadn't even happened yet. How have been things?
The before time. That's it really is like a whole different era.
I know, right? Oh my God, it's just crazy how time flies. But things have been pretty good?
I'm alive.
Yeah.
So.
Did you catch COVID?
Yeah. I did not catch COVID that I know of. How about you?
No, I got pretty sick in May of 2020, and I thought it was COVID, but it turns out it wasn't. It was like, a stress virus or something. It was like a 72-hour stress virus.
A stress virus? What's that?
That's just when you're stressed and you just, get sick,
Huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy, though. I know a lot of people who've gotten it, though. And I know a couple of people who have long COVID.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That is sad. That is insane. Yeah, a lot of craziness has happened to me the last few years. I mean, I just turned 40 recently. I moved to Modesto, and I have type 2 diabetes. Other than that, I can't complain.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So you moved to Modesto from Northern California?
From Redding, yeah. Just moved June 1st.
Ah. Well, how do you like it?
I like that I'm close to the Bay Area because that's where I'm from. But I just cannot adapt to climate change. It's driving me insane.
Oh. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's terrifying.
I used to think it was a good thing, but now I see it's not.
Oh, well, that's curious. So when you thought it was a good thing, why was that?
Because I thought this part of California was going to turn into LA. It was going to be hot year round, but then no, it's hotter is what it is.
Yeah.
And
there is a piece of this where I guess there's some current that runs through the ocean that, the Gulf Stream, that somehow that will stop, and then it's supposed to get super cold in some places.
Yeah.
That's where I want to live.
Well, we had snow at least one winter a year up in Redding, and it was great. I would take pictures of it. I would go play in it and stuff. It was crazy walking around in the snow trying to get to the grocery store, but at least we had that up there.
Yeah. So Modesto doesn't get any snow, huh?
I have no idea. I've only been here since June 1st. Let's see what happens.
And is it 100 degrees there?
Right now, it's about 62 or something.
Oh, that's good. We're having a heat wave here in LA.
I heard you guys had a hurricane last week. You
We
know.
did. It was kind of mild, though, I have to say. That in the end, it was a tropical storm.
Hmm.
It was just, we got about 5 inches of rain in one day. And it was really warm and humid.
Yeah.
But it didn't do too much damage here. I guess inland it was a little bit more of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of muggy weather last weekend when that was hitting, but other than that, it was fine. You know, I went to a Comic-Con and my mom was worried that I was going to it over in San Jose, and she thought that there was going to be a hurricane over there, and there wasn't.
No.
It was like medium muggy hot weather over there.
Yeah. Well, I'm heading up to San Francisco in about a week
Yeah.
or 10 days, and I hope it stays cool.
Yeah, hopefully it will. Hopefully.
Yeah, because I got a couple of shows, and I don't think the theaters have air conditioning.
Yeah. They should. They should get air conditioning.
Yeah, well, and as you know, it's pretty hard to do comedy when it's super hot.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. There were a couple times when I was in an open mic and it was just hot in there, in the summertime, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, my brain just kind of doesn't really work very well. So a comedic performance can seem like a tragedy.
Yeah. So I wanted to start by bringing up, in the last few years, we've lost so many great comedians, especially last year. That was a bad year for losing great comedians,
Yeah.
Starting with Bob Saget. Did you know him?
I did not. I didn't know him personally. I certainly knew of him.
Of course.
And yeah, that was terrible.
I cried. Go ahead.
And it was suspicious too.
It was very suspicious, yeah. I mean, just to go suddenly like that, I mean, he couldn't have been cheating on his wife. I mean, she was hot. I mean, there's no way that, he got killed by a jealous lover or anything like that.
Who knows? I mean, it's just... Now, it happened in Florida, right?
You what?
Wasn't he in Florida when that happened?
Right, yes, it was in Florida.
Yeah, a lot of fucked up shit happens in Florida.
Yeah, I cried for a whole week because he was always a part of my life, especially starting when I was 2 years old and when I saw the Rodney Dangerfield 9th Annual Young Comedian Special. It was him, Kinnison, Rita Rudner, Yakov Smirnoff, Louis Anderson, who we also lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you know Louis?
I didn't. No.
Yeah, I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did, because he had like 3 heart attacks and he always remained like the same weight.
Yeah. I do know plenty of dead comics, but not those two.
Yeah.
We lost Andre the Wonder Woman last year, too.
Andre the Wonder Woman, that doesn't sound familiar.
Andre. Yeah, she was I think best known in the Bay Area. She was a really good friend of mine.
Huh, how come I don't remember her? That's weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, but oh my God, yeah, I saw Saget live in San Jose back in 2017, and he was just such a showman. He did an hour of stand-up, and then he did a half hour of playing guitar and singing silly songs, and he was just so quick-minded. Even at 60, he was quick-minded, and it was great. Sadly, he wasn't doing a meet and greet after this particular show, which made me sad because I actually know some guys who met him at the show the night before.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I used to watch him every Saturday night on USA Up All Night, and that's where my love of exploitation horror sci-fi movies began, was through Gilbert and Rhonda Shear. And I got to interview Rhonda Shear last June, and it was so fantastic.
Yeah. So you lost a lot of heroes last year.
Yeah, a lot of them. And Gilbert's podcast was fucking awesome. He had everyone from Carl Reiner to Brenda Vaccaro to Paul Sand to Alan Arkin on his show because he just loved talking about classic film and television.
Yeah. Oh, Arkin was great.
I just got into Dana Gould's podcast. He does the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love Dana.
Yeah, I actually met him by accident a couple of years ago. My mom and I, we were at Sketchfest in San Francisco, and we were going to see a screening for one of my favorite cult movies from the 80s, Just One of the Guys. And we were looking for the meet and greet table because one of the stars of the movie has been on the podcast several times. And we're walking around looking, and Dana, he had a table there, and he hadn't put his sign up yet. And I'm looking at him like, I know that guy from somewhere. And we go over, my mom says, is this where the Just One of the Guys table is? And he's like, it is not. And she's like, do you know where it is? And he's like, I do not.
Uh-huh.
And so we go over to the security person to find out where it is. And I say to her, hey, who's that guy over there? And she's like, that's Dana Gould. And I was like, that is Dana Gould.
Now, Dana, I do know.
Yeah, now I put a name with the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Let's see. Gallagher, we lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you ever meet him?
No, I didn't. But because I used to, because of the squirrel, people often made Gallagher references because of the mess after my set.
Oh God, did you ever hear that crazy freaking interview he did on Maron?
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah, it was one of the early ones Maron did, and like he didn't want to interview him, but he felt because he was just starting the podcast, it would help him get some hits and what have you. And it started off, I mean, there was tension right from the beginning, but like it started off good, and then 15 minutes in, Maron starts harping on him about how racist he's gotten on stage and stuff, and they spent another 15 minutes just arguing over it, and then Gallagher finally just walked out and left. It was crazy.
Well, I might have to go listen to that.
Oh yeah, oh God, it is hilarious, and like he said recently on the show when after he died and he reposted it about a year later, he actually apologized to him for getting into that argument, and then asked him to come on his show that he was doing on IFC, and Gallagher didn't like the script of what it was. They were going to do a podcast interview on the show, and then halfway through it, Gallagher keels over and dies. Yeah, he just found that offensive, so they didn't do it. Norm Macdonald.
Oh yeah, Norm. He was a sweet guy.
Yeah, he wrote on Roseanne just like you did.
He did. Although I'd met him before that, early in the 80s. I saw him in Boston, and then in New York in the early 90s. Yeah, he was a great stand-up.
That's funny, he did an HBO One Night Stand long before he did Saturday Night Live, and I don't know what it was. I think I didn't get what he was doing on stage at that time. I maybe it was just a case of he wasn't ready or something like that. I just didn't enjoy it very much.
Well, I just loved his voice and his cadence. And he had this one bit that I just loved. He just had I don't know. I really enjoyed watching him work.
Yeah, Lois Bromfield told me that he would fall asleep on the writer's room couch.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't on this Roseanne at the same time he was.
Right.
Never saw him.
Right, he was on SNL when you were on, probably.
I don't know. Did he do Roseanne first or SNL first?
He did Roseanne first.
Yeah, so it could have been.
Yeah, he even opened for Bill Cosby and was like one of the few people who actually had a good experience with him.
What, he didn't get raped?
No. He said that Cosby was very personable backstage. He was like, just clowning around with everybody and stuff. It was actually a good experience. Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see, did I miss anybody who died last year in comedy?
I know, probably.
There was a couple writers that died that started out as stand-ups, and like I literally never heard of them, and I felt really bad when I saw comics I knew posting about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell you their names. They were just so obscure. One of them I had actually kind of heard of, but I wasn't familiar with the stand-up. But yeah, I mean, God, it was like the worst year for comedy ever, I think, in terms of losing people.
Yeah, it was bad. It was very bad.
Yeah, and then, I've heard about certain comics just having health issues and stuff, and thank God that they're pulling through. Like I heard Bob Nelson was sick.
Why don't I know that name?
Yeah, he's the goofy guy who would like play characters on stage. He used to play the football player or the boxer,
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, you'd know him if you saw him. I think he was a Florida guy.
Yeah.
And he's really
a ton of comics who had cancer and have and survived. So.
Yeah, he was on the Rodney specials, and he had his own HBO specials, and he did this one special where he had like a set of a house, and he kept going in and out of the doors as different characters and stuff. I mean, he was just really, really talented, and he used to be very blue when he started, but then Red Skelton told him to be clean because he had this lovable, goofy, clown persona.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff. Yeah. I'm curious, what did you think of the whole Chris Rock and Will Smith thing?
Well, you know what? I had a joke about it. Now I can't remember the joke even. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't remember the joke, but I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really. It was. I know for a while after that, like comics were actually nervous on stage that they were going to get hit or attacked.
Yeah.
I am not worried about that, but I have worried about catching a deadly virus.
Yeah, like Chappelle, he got attacked on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people had no idea that the two of them had a pre-existing feud from previous Oscar years, and I kind of thought at first that it was all fixed, right? But then once he sat back down and said, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth," that's when I knew it was serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that was like the single greatest Oscar moment since the guy ran naked on stage during David Niven's speech. I mean, I think it even eclipsed Jack Palance doing the one-arm push-ups.
Well, it was memorable.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Chris Rock's special and laughed my ass off, when it came out. And that last 10 minutes was just so brilliant, She started the joke and I finished it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'll tell you, I usually get bored when I watch specials now because everyone is so long form and so long-winded. There's no rapid fire, no setup punchline, and everyone's careful now. But, I enjoyed it. And, me and my mom, we watched Maron's latest special where he goes into detail about Lynn Shelton's death and his father's dementia. I thought it was depressing yet hilarious, and I'm glad he got all of that out on stage.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think that his next special will be a little bit more fun, hopefully.
I have noticed a trend, like in that, and the one who did Nanette, Why am I forgetting her name?
Who?
The Australian.
Australian.
Hannah Gadsby. Okay, so Hannah Gadsby and the specialist here.
Uh-huh.
Both she and Mark, and I'm like, there's this sort of trend among comics of just kind of acknowledging it's the end of the fucking civilization.
Right.
But they're going to do it anyway. And, I think a lot of people are feeling that kind of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate them addressing that and still being hilarious.
Oh, yeah. And hopefully, they can look back a few years from now and go, what was I worried about,
Well, that would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yes.
But, they say you shouldn't complain about it being, don't think of this as like the hottest summer we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Think of this as the coolest summer we're ever going to have.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, you know what's one great thing about this sensitive time in stand-up comedy is that at least when we're talking privately with our friends, we can't offend them. We can get away with murder. And I cherish that kind of conversation. Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of conversation you don't want to record, though.
Exactly. Like I had one the other night with an actress friend of mine, and it was just so lovely, and it's exactly what I mean, Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel though with the strike going on?
You mean the end of the strike?
Yeah, do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course, because I think, it's not going to last forever. Now, I don't know how long it's going to be because I think the two sides are still very far apart. And I'm in the Writers Guild as well as the Screen Actors Guild.
Right.
And the producers they're not just in this field. They're these, these diverse conglomerates that really can hold out because they have other businesses. So I think it could go on for a while.
Yeah, it hasn't affected me podcasting because I talk to musicians, comedians, historians, authors, etc. But I miss my actors and I miss talking to my cult movie actors. I want everybody to be compensated, but I don't want anyone to lose their house, which I hope this strike comes to a head real soon,
Yes.
because...
Are they not allowed to talk to podcasters?
There's a rule right now they're not allowed to come on and promote new projects that may be on these streaming platforms or even old ones, old movies and stuff, which I just
but
think
you can have them on just as people.
Yeah, well, where's the fun in that,
All right.
Unless I know them already, that's one thing. But if I want to talk to them for the first time, I want to go through their career and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't affected me in that way though. But I just hope that, this comes to a head soon because I don't want them, not being able to pay their bills and move out of LA,
Yeah, but if they don't do this now, then the chances of being able to pay any of that shit long term is, that's the real issue. Is that the pay just has been cut basically, and if they don't stop that now, then no one's going to be able to afford housing and all that.
Yeah.
So strikes have always been hard on individuals, and but really the only way that labor that would otherwise be powerless can fight back.
Yeah, I mean, the 80 and 88 strikes were pretty crazy, especially the 88 strike, because a lot of productions had to go to Canada or Atlanta to film. I do know that when The Burbs was being filmed, when Joe Dante was directing The Burbs, they had to be very careful when they were shooting around LA because they didn't want anyone to get in trouble. And, Universal, I guess, had put this movie aside so many times that they wanted it, filmed now, while that strike was going on.
Huh. I'm not sure. I wasn't living here yet, so I wasn't aware.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of shows were being canceled at that time, a lot of pilots and stuff. It was crazy. 88 was a crazy year in Hollywood. I had a nightmare recently that one of my scripts was made into a movie, and during the end credits it said, "This film was made using AI," and I woke up screaming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's really what the strike is about.
Yeah. I mean, I think at first it was about being compensated, but now it's just turned into this, AI is taking over our industry thing, and it's like a Twilight Zone episode, or it's like that Arnold movie, The Sixth Day, where he's cloned, without even knowing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fran Drescher has been really something to watch.
Yeah. Her and Justine Bateman, who actually brought it to the public's consciousness about AI.
Yeah, I just remember one of the, after the actors went out, one of the writers was like, said, "The fucking nanny," with reverence to Fran, but it is kind of wild that it's the nanny.
Yeah.
The strike. Yeah. But those were the days where you could get a sitcom and you were golden. But I remember even like when I did the Tonight Show, like back in the day, if you did the Tonight Show, that was it. You were good. Mm-hmm. You were made. And by the time I did it in the late 90s, it didn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. I know, especially...
It didn't give you any kind of career.
Yeah, especially, Jay Leno, for some reason, he didn't want to break any comedians like Johnny did.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, I was on Jay's show.
Yeah, Letterman did that too, but there were some people who got broken on Letterman just incidentally, like Bill Hicks.
Uh-huh, yeah. But definitely before those days. Like that was much earlier.
Right.
I guess it was because, back at that time there were just 3 networks, and then, so everybody was watching stuff, and then by the time cable and all that came in, the audience was so fragmented.
Yeah, and also there's oversaturation of comics on cable, all those stand-up shows. Did you get to do any of those shows?
Yeah, I did a bunch of them. I did a show on Showtime, Fierce Funny Women. I did Girls Night Out on Lifetime, stand up on Comedy Central.
I remember Girls Night Out.
What else?
Caroline's?
Nope, didn't do Caroline's.
Comedy on the Road?
No, I think I listed all the ones I did. Oh, and then the other one I did was Pet Shop with Andy Kindler.
I didn't see that one. But
Animal Planet.
Yeah, I mean, I watched An Evening at the Improv. I watched, later I watched reruns of VH1 Comedy Spotlight with Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was all those shows. I remember there was one that Louis Anderson hosted on HBO very briefly, like around 94, 95, that didn't last. I think that was the final nail in the coffin with the cable comedy shows for a while, until they started coming back, because when I started in 06, there was White Boys in the Hood on Showtime.
Uh-huh.
That's where I discovered Adam Hunter and Jessica Kirson.
Oh yeah.
Was on that show, yeah.
Yeah, I did an off-Broadway show with Jessica Kirson.
Yeah, she was going to come on here like in the first year I started the podcast, but she got super big by that point, and that's perfectly fine with me. She's still a hilarious comic.
Yeah, she is.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh. Now, that's the kind of question you got to give someone in advance. I don't even know. There's so many that I like. Yeah, I mean...
Okay, what genre do you gravitate toward the most?
Definitely comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like horror or thrillers or things like that. But it's also like, it's certain moments in my life, you see a movie and it just fucking changes things for you.
Yeah.
Like, I remember as a kid seeing Monty Python and just being, like, just loving that. And, one time, I think it was actually Annie Hall.
Yeah, I love Annie Hall. That's my favorite rom-com of all time.
Uh-huh. And then I think Thelma and Louise. I remember seeing that in the theater. And, this is before... I didn't really know that much about it, and it was just wild to be in a theater, and like, and men were like freaking out, like, oh my God, this is so anti-men, and they felt threatened, and it was like, and the women were like laughing at stuff, and I was like, wow, this is what it's like for us in almost every other fucking movie. Get over it,
Yeah.
It was fascinating to just. And it's kind of interesting now, like in some ways the Barbie movie, it's the same thing where it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I love all genres, but horror and comedy are what I gravitate toward the most.
Yeah. See, now I do like the comedy, but I can't watch the horror. It just I can't take the adrenaline. Mm-hmm. But tell me what you love about horror. I'm interested in that.
I just love how there's all this silliness and comedy around it, and there's occasionally bad acting. There's certain horror movies that were made that had great actors in it, but just because it was shot so fast, the acting wasn't really in depth. It was pretty bad. I love the makeup of how they execute the kills. You get someone amazing like Tom Savini or Rick Baker or Robert Kurtzman or anybody who can do special effects makeup. It's amazing how you see how they spend hours, and they do spend hours, mixing the fake blood and creating these head wounds and whatever it is. It is just like that takes dedication and skill, and that starts in childhood. The way that they can do that, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now Tom Savini, he was a Vietnam vet, so he actually saw that for real when he was in combat, and he took pictures. He was like the Vietnam photographer after he had served in combat for a little bit before he went to New York. He knows exactly what he saw, and so he could put that on screen.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my favorite movie of all time, though, is Back to the Future, because it has everything in it. Comedy, drama, music, action, even a moment that would be considered somewhat horror. Where he's like, fading out of existence until George, gets the balls to like push the guy down during the dance. That was kind of a horrific moment. Just everything, and I think one of the reasons why the movie is so popular is because we could all relate to that story of wanting to see your parents when they were in high school, to find out, who the fuck they are and why the fuck you are the way you are,
Yeah. I'm thinking Mel Brooks has a lot of movies I love, like Young Frankenstein.
Oh my God, that's like my favorite Mel Brooks movie, and I just found out he's going to be honored at next year's Oscars.
Oh, great.
I just hope he makes it. He's 97 or something.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Why am I forgetting? Okay, so All in the Family.
You're a big All in the Family fan?
Yeah, but who's the guy who created that and Maude?
Norman Lear.
So Norman's like 100, I think.
Yes. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and he's still working too. He's still
working and sharp, and really like out there, active. So.
Yeah, he was working on his reboot of One Day at a Time.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. Yeah, and it's funny. I've talked to people who are not even his age, and they've declined rapidly. Sadly, I've talked to the legendary exploitation filmmaker Matt Cimber, who created the original women's wrestling Glow series back in the '80s, and he's like almost completely deaf. I had to do a lot of editing of that one because he kept saying "what" all the time because I talked too fast for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like 87 or something like that. Yeah. Speaking of horrific things, though, like I was listening to a couple podcasts that you did years ago with these two comedians who are like movie nerds, and it was mentioned that you're obsessed with serial killers.
Oh, well, I don't know if I would say obsessed, but, you know, yeah, maybe that's accurate. I'm just like mostly don't understand why they all get wives once they're already in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would a woman marry one of those guys?
Because
I think I have a theory on it, which is that this way they don't have to wonder whether they're married to a serial killer or not.
I think they're just as insane as the serial killer.
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't think that they're capable of killing people, certainly, but they are just, completely batshit, They're like the obsessed fan, I mean, I mean, there's certain, women that I admired, that I would love to marry, but like, oh my God, it's just like seeing, I think that they have the same reaction that like, fans do, but there's a lot of crazy fans out there, and I think that there's some of them.
Mm. So that thing that you're talking about is Chris Mancini, and is that the one with comedy film nerds?
Yeah. It's just like I happened to stumble upon it, and I saw that you'd been on there a couple times. I was like, cool, so I listened to it.
Yeah, I really enjoy those guys. They're both really fun stand-ups too.
Yeah. I mean, I used to watch, A&E Cold Case Files when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I read a lot about psychology, and honestly, I think in hindsight, it prepared me for show business and podcasting, because I know more now about narcissism and sociopathology than I ever have before.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think all performers have some sort of narcissism. I mean, I certainly do, but like, I like to think I'm an empath.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
There is I think there's a lot of narcissism in Hollywood, and not just on the performer side.
Yeah. There's a woman, I forget her name offhand. She's Hindu Indian, and she's got a YouTube channel where she's like a psychologist, and she her specialty is narcissism and sociopathology, and she's interviewed like celebrities who were like molested or had or got beaten by their lovers when they were younger or whatever, and she lives in LA, and she's like, I can be having lunch at the most famous restaurants in LA and listen to actors sell themselves to try to sell themselves to producers and go, yep, that person is definitely a narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think is the absolute worst serial killer?
Oh, well, I don't think I can answer that question, but the one that, freaked me out the most when I was younger was Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah. He had a specific type of woman that he killed. Like he killed women that looked just like his ex or something.
Well, I mean, it was this trail of bodies across the country, and and he worked at a rape crisis hotline.
Right. I know. I it's funny. When you're talking to a counselor, I think that they're anonymous, right? But I wonder if anybody absolutely knew that later that Ted Bundy was the person they talked to on the crisis line.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine he told anybody, life isn't for everybody. Do it,
Oh, are you a fan of Doug Stanhope?
Yeah.
Oh, me too. And he has a bit about, hey, life's not for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, do you know Larry Bubbles Brown?
Yes.
He says that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great line. Yeah, I think it's strange because there's that documentary that just came out about Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's like Jeffrey Dahmer was very childlike in the way that that way that he approached it. It's like he was always that kid who was digging up animal bones and collecting roadkill and so forth. And it's like when he was opening up guys and stuff, it's like he was still that kid in some ways. It's very strange of how his situation was.
Mm-hmm. And he was also, wasn't he like a butcher?
A butcher? I don't think so.
Okay.
He was always losing jobs. I know that. And like once he started killing, he would keep heads in his locker at work, which is so freaking bizarre. I wonder if anyone noticed the smell or anything.
Probably. Paul Mooney had great books about him.
Oh yeah, Paul Mooney.
Yeah. He just said, after he got killed in jail, he's like, you can't eat the neighborhood and think you're going to get away with it.
Yeah. That's another great one that we lost was Paul Mooney.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Paul. And Paul was back, one of the things that SAG-AFTRA did was get the first contract at Comedy Central and BET.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be people would think, oh, comic went on TV, they'd made it, they were rich. And actually, they'd record those shows for almost nothing and then play them to death, and you'd never get another penny.
Right.
So, back in the early 90s, the comics organized to get those contracts, and Paul came to the meetings, those early meetings.
So it was like the Comedy Store strike in a way.
Yeah, except it was about cable.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember when he played Sam Cooke in the Buddy Holly story. That was like the first time I saw him. And then the first time I actually saw him do stand-up was on Comic Relief 6. I saw him, Carlos Mencia, and Marga Gomez in that whole special, and I had never seen any of them before.
I'm working with Marga in September.
I know, at the Brava Theatre, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met Marga was at the Brainwash. I had been doing stand-up maybe a month, maybe a couple of weeks, and I remembered her from that special from Comic Relief 6, and back then she was all curly-haired and gorgeous and all that stuff, and now here she is, short-haired, out of the closet lesbian, still so freaking hilarious and awesome, and I went up to her and I told her, I remember seeing you on Comic Relief 6 when I was a kid. You were hilarious then and you're hilarious now. And she commented on the gap in my teeth, because she has a gap in her teeth too.
Yes.
She said something like, well, it's always nice to meet a brother with a gap.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she's got also her, all of her one-woman shows are pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean she's never been a nightclub comic, but she's always been like a one-woman show performance artist type of comic in alternative venues.
Mm-hmm.
She's part of that great tradition with Margaret Cho.
Yeah.
Just recently, I got my first prostate exam.
Was it by a doctor?
Well, let me tell you, it was a complete letdown. So this is what happened. Back in April, I went to my doctor, and I had to get my A1C levels checked because I have diabetes, and everything was great. And then she said, you're going to be 40 pretty soon. I think it's time for your first prostate exam. And I was like, oh, yes, I've been waiting for this my whole life. Yes, I want to take the finger. Yes. So the diagnostics clinic that I usually go to get blood work done, they stopped operating for some reason. So we had to go to this clinic that I think my mom had been to once before for some reason, but I wasn't familiar with it. So we go there, and I go into the room, and the nurse was very cute, and she had these cute little hands, and I was like, oh yes, I'm going to enjoy those fingers, right? So she gives me the blood work, and then she's like, you can go now. And I'm like, oh, what about the prostate exam? And she's like, oh, that's part of it now. The blood work is part of it now. I'm like, what? I was like, the prostate exam is blood work now. I was like, what the fuck? I guess
You gotta pay extra for that.
I guess part of it was COVID. Maybe part of it was hashtag Me Too. Who knows? They don't do it that way anymore.
That's interesting. I think you got to go to a man doctor to get it.
I don't know, but I was just like, oh God, that's so disappointing. I was preparing for it and everything.
Sorry, Tommy.
I know, only me, right? Only me. I've told so many people the story now, and they're like, only you, Tommy. Oh my God, hilarious. Do you own an Alexa?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, there's a conspiracy that going back to the AI thing. There's a conspiracy that Alexas are government operated, and that they record private conversations when people are in the living room having a family argument. That they record what you say, and there's people, they've had visits by the Secret Services and stuff. Yeah, do you think that's true?
Well, I don't think it's the government who's doing it. I think it's Amazon who's doing it. So,
yeah, they're
I'll suddenly get ads for shit I didn't ever look up, but I might have mentioned it in conversation.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think that's crazy. Yeah, sometimes my mom and my brother will be arguing in the living room, and I'll be like, keep it down. You never know what's going to happen with Alexa,
Yeah. Well, I know Alexa's caused a lot of rich kind language, 'cause it doesn't hear, and then you're like, Alexa, and so there's just a lot of yelling that happens on account of that, and they do program it to only respond to please and thank you. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping someday somebody will come up with an AI orgasm machine. You could be in public anywhere, right? And you give your friend the signal, who's in another area or whatever. Say, give Tommy an orgasm, and then you start feeling a tingle below. It's like,
I bet that does exist.
Is it what?
I bet it does exist.
Yeah, it's kind of like that horror movie, The Entity, or the Chevy Chase movie, Modern Problems, where someone can get an orgasm in the other room, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's better when you're in the same room as the other person, but whatever.
I agree. But I love technology. I love it when it's good, and so I hope the product comes out in some capacity. Now, I'm curious to know, last time we talked, which was almost 4 years ago, you were coming up with a podcast. What became of it?
That's so funny. So we actually recorded a session at the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
Which I'm going to hold on to forever, because me and my co-host were just talking about how we didn't really think it was going to be a big deal. But we basically haven't, really launched it. We kind of stopped working on it for that period. She got tied up with something else, so we'll probably still do it.
Yeah, because I'm surprised, during the pandemic, everyone was jumping on the Zoom bandwagon on YouTube. I'm surprised that you guys didn't attempt to do that.
We had our reasons.
Yeah. I know people wanted me to do that. They wanted me to make Splat from the Past a Zoom show during the pandemic, and some people still want me to. And it's just like, why fucking be like everybody else? Be who you want to be. I've had some PR people who didn't want to put their clients on my show because I wasn't a Zoom show during the pandemic and stuff.
Well, there's something. I mean, I've done a lot of Zoom stuff, and it sure is nice to not have to, drive to the gig or whatever. But it's not the best format for everything.
No, I mean, I have aged so rapidly in the last decade since I had my accident, to quit drinking, all that stuff. It's just like I have to wear sunglasses and my hat backwards so people won't see, how bald I'm going. I get asked a lot now to be on people's podcasts that are on Zoom, and I do them, and I have a ball doing them, but unless someone asks me to take my sunglasses off, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been interviewed on a lot of Zoom podcasts lately. I did my first horror podcast recently that I was interviewed on, and it wasn't like anything I thought it was going to be. It only lasted 20 minutes, and now I'm trying to get that host to come on here, and she's not expressing that much enthusiasm, which I think is weird. But then again, she comes from traditional journalism, so who knows?
Mm.
Yep, mammals are interesting human beings, aren't they?
Mammals are interesting human beings. Interesting way to put that.
Yeah. Last year I celebrated 5 years of the podcast, and this year has been 6. Time has really flown by, and I've had you on here 4 times now, and I'm curious to know, what is it about me that keeps you coming back?
Oh, well, if you asked me, so that's part of it. And just, you're so into what you do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something that's just awesome about somebody who loves what they do and is really enthusiastic about it. And, it's just so clear how much you enjoy all these different aspects of show business. And, it's just, it's fun.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, I mean, I like that you're a survivor like me. You have your beliefs, but you don't get preachy or try to indoctrinate people. You listen to other people. You're a good listener, and you're just a lot of fun, Betsy.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So you'll be at the Throckmorton September 12th, and you'll be at the Brava September 21st. Is there anything else you got coming up?
Well, those are my Bay Area shows. Mm-hmm. And then that's probably all I'm going to promote right now. I don't have anything else I want to hype. But this is my first time back to the Bay Area performing since the pandemic, so I'm really excited about it.
Do you know who else is on the bill for the Throckmorton?
I don't. They haven't posted it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, I want to see if there's anybody I know going to be there. Since I'm closer to Modesto now, maybe I'll be making trips out there soon. I don't know if I'll be able to make this particular one. I'll let you know if I do. But I mean, I miss going to shows and stuff. I haven't been to any in a long, long time.
Yeah, me neither. And it's still, now COVID's surging again. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Absolutely. Betsy, I love you. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Tommy.
Yes, and we'll meet in person someday, I promise.
Okay. All right, good.
And
we'll do a 5th one someday.
Yes. And until then, be safe, break a leg, and keep making the world a better place.
You too, Tommy. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Betsy Salkind, ain't she a sweetheart? I just love her. She is the best. Go see her in September in the Bay Area at the Throckmorton Theatre and the Brava Theatre. She is just hilarious and so amazing. Go check her out. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.